Welcome to Rome, fellow citizens. Tonight I am going to follow the great Cato, and I'm going to prepare for you a Roman dinner, which will consist of a roast of beef with shallot, Roman style, and accompanied by a small little accompaniment which you may think of when you hear what's in it. It should be a dessert, it's not. Okay, Apothernum. Okay, that means without heat. So that bit's not going to get cooked. So enjoy. Now, before I tell you about that accompaniment, we need to do a little bit of preparation, and it's going to need a little bit of cooking time. So although the final thing isn't cooked, we need to cook off this stuff. Now this is spelt. Okay, it's an ancient grain. Okay, I think this is an einkorn variety. And what we're going to do is we're going to pound it in the mortar. We're not grinding it up completely, we just want to coarsely grind it, pound it, and then we're going to put it into water and we're going to boil it for 40 minutes. Okay, this should help soften it. So 200 grams of spelt, and then you will want to go with that some almonds. Okay, some nice peeled almonds. I've got 50 grams of those, and I've got 25 grams of pine nuts. I've got 50 grams of raisins, which I'm going to chop up a bit finely. You don't have to chop them. It's going to want some ground pepper. I'm using long pepper because that's what they would have used, and it's going to be mixed together with this stuff. Now this is looking a little bit green. That's partly because of the grapes I used. I have prepared now some how is it pronounced? Caronum, which is essentially grape juice. So I picked from the grapes myself and squeezed the juice out. Didn't stamp on them with my feet. And then I sieved it, and it was then heated and reduced down to 1/3. So basically a nice sweet syrup, if you like. Well, it's not really syrup. So you may think, with that sweetness, the currants, this is dessert. Not dessert. So I'm just going to pound that a little bit more, and then I'll shove it in that pan and we'll put it on boil. So that's gone on the boil. Okay, doesn't matter much water because we'll be getting rid of the water. The next flour all down on my tunic, how dare it. Punish a few slaves for that. So I take my pine nuts, take my almonds, I'm just going to put them in there together, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some warm water, freshly boiled earlier, okay, and I'm just going to pour that over them, and we're going to allow them to soak, okay, until we're ready for the next bit. So that's on there soaking. So that's going to boil for 40 minutes. So the main course won't take that long. Okay, so we don't need to worry about that. We're going to prepare these spelt cakes. Okay, these Apothernums are actually Roman spelt cakes. Okay, so we're going to prepare them first. We don't cook them afterwards or heat them, and then we'll do the meat. Now the meat in this case is a couple of rump steaks. If you've got doing it for everybody, you get a nice big bit of fillet, and we can roast the whole thing. We're going to do it differently. We're going to do it with steaks, okay? But we're going to prepare the same sauce that goes with it, and the other thing we will be eating it with, like I said, with shallots. Them nice long ones like that. So that's on the go. This is on the go now. So I'll come back to you in a bit, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Apothernum. Now, so I'll just give you a little bit more of a history about this Apothernum, this Roman spelt cakes. Now, another way we know that this wasn't a dessert is because of what book it was in. So this was in a set of books, the De Re Coquinaria, which was a set of 10 books divided up into sort of things like this is for meat, this is dessert, this is whatever. Okay, and this was written by a Marcus Gavius Apicius, or Apicius, okay, which had over 60 recipes in it. Now, this is found in the second book of the volumes, if you like, and which is dedicated to meatballs, fish cakes and sausages. So therefore, this is why we assume that it goes as an accompaniment for that sort of dish. Now, one thing we're not going to do is the pine nuts and that. In Rome, they would have whitened them with a stuff called Creta Argentaria, which was a sort of gypsum type clay, and they would have washed them in that, and that would have made them even whiter. We ain't doing that. Okay. Equally, they would have washed the spelt in it. We ain't doing that either. Right. So the final dish would have been like quite white, apart from the raisins, obviously, that's in it. Now, the original recipe, if you want the Latin, was Apothernum sic facies, alicam ilexacum nucleus, et amygdalis depellatis, et in aqua infusis, et lotis excreta argentaria, ut ad candorum parita per decanta. Cui amiscabus uvum passum, coronum vel passum, de super piper comparactum asparges, et in volitare inferis. There you go, a bit Latin for you. Right, that's just come up to the boil. So before I give you a translation, I'm just going to turn that down. And I'm going to set the timer 40 minutes. Where's it gone? So basically what I just said was, make in this way the Apothernum. Boiled spelt with pine nuts and peeled almonds, steeped and cleaned in water with clay. In such a way they turn completely white. Mix with raisins and coranum, or raisin wine. Sprinkle ground pepper on top and plate it. And that's another reason why we don't think it was a dessert. It's got pepper on it. Okay? So, that's what we're making, is this accompaniment. And so now, we can go and, I don't know, is it orgy time? Yeah. Let's go and join the orgy for a little bit and come back when that's ready. Catch you later. So, fellow citizens, or plebeians I should say, that's still got about 15 minutes to go. These nuts soak long enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to drain the nuts off. And then they're going to go in the mortar. Okay, now we're going to want that sieve a bit later. But what we're going to do now is we want to pound this into like, with laurel leaf slipping. I hope that's not a bad omen. So we're going to pound this together into like a paste. Okay, hence the reason I'm doing that before that's finished. Because when this is pounded together and mixed with that and the rest of it, we'll have the basis. Get right in there. That's another slave added chances. Okay, so I told you everything to do with the starter, as it were. Okay, the history behind it. One of my nuts have just dropped. So, really, I'm just going to continue until I've got these all together, like I told you, and then I'll show you what we do once we've got that finished boiling. Okay, so that's them nicely ground, and what we're going to do, we're going to transfer them to a bowl. We will want the mortar and pestle later to grind our pepper, So that goes in there. We'll also be adding the chopped raisins, which I chopped earlier. And there you go. Like that. And the only other thing that will go in here is some of this Coquinaria, which is this reduced down grape juice, but we'll add that a little bit at a time when we've got the spelt and everything in there. And we'll just add that as enough to mix it in and bind it all together, because we want to roll some balls from this. Okay, and that will be our spelt cakes. So we've still got about a few more minutes yet on the spelt, so we're getting there. So that's my spelt drained, and I just add the last quantity of that into there. And really we need to let this cool now, because we're going to be putting our hands into that. So I'm just going to give it a preliminary mix around. Now you'll notice obviously the colour of it. Like I said, back when this was done with a whitener, so these would make nice white balls with black bits in. The currants. You can have the currants whole, by the way, if you wish. The recipe says chopped, but can be even bigger if you like. So, apart from shaping them and then spreading them with some pepper, that is all we can do at this stage. Okay, so we'll be finishing them in a bit. In the meantime, I'm gonna got some long pepper. If you remember, that's that sort of looking stuff. And what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to grind that up, ready to sprinkle on once we formed our balls. So it's still quite warm yet. I'm putting my hand in there yet, but I'm going to add a little bit of our Coquinaria. Okay, mix that in. It is quite wet because obviously that spelt collected a lot of the moisture, soaked a lot of it. Actually, I had to top it up with some boiling water. So I don't think we're going to need an awful lot of this. So I think that might have to be it. I think it's quite a runny mixture. Well, I say runny, as in terms of I'm going to make a ball out of it. Probably get about 6 out of this. Okay, about golf ball sized. Okay, let's have a little taste, see what it's like at the moment. Spout's very crunchy, has a real crunch to it. But a soft crunch, you know. It is sweet. Not too sweet. So, let's get rid of this for a minute. So what we do, like I say, we're going to take about enough to make a golf ball. I think at the moment it's still a bit warm actually, so I might leave that for a little bit, let that cool down a little bit. Okay, so I've got 7 out of that, and then I've got me pepper there, and what I'm just going to do is just going to sprinkle some of that ground pepper liberally over the top, and then I'm going to put I know we're going to be having them with a hot meal if you like, but I'm going to put them into the fridge just to help them sort of set a little bit because they were still quite wet. But there is your Roman spelt cake, Apothernum. We'll be enjoying that with the next course.